Hello, I'm Ben Powell, Vice President at CH Powell Company, and I'm joined by Eric Hansel, Regulatory Compliance Manager at CH Powell. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ben. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. It's great to see you, Eric. And we'd like to focus today on the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism program, also known as CTPAT, an active and expanding CBP program that CH Powell Company and many of our clients and business partners participate in. In a publication of PowerPoint's, CH Powell Company's e-newsletter, we recently highlighted a CTPAT security bulletin that identified agriculture security and specifically the use of wood packaging material as a high area of noncompliance amongst CTPAT participants. So this is a program that's very much front and center in terms of our work and industry updates and guidance. But today we want to take a step back and provide a broader CTPAT overview. So Eric, if that works with you, let's just start with the basics. And what is CTPAT and how does it work?
Sure, Ben. Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, or CTPAT, as you mentioned, is a voluntary public-private sector partnership program which recognizes that CBP can provide the highest level of cargo security only through close cooperation with principal stakeholders of the international supply chain, such as importers, customs brokers, carriers, both over the air, water, or land. And so it's through this collaboration that areas of risk are identified and hopefully mitigated as through a series of trust and through openness and information sharing.
Right. And what's the basic flow, Eric, of companies getting involved with CTPAT? It's open to anyone to apply?
So most parties in the international supply chain are available now. And it's through an application process. Applications available through customs. Once that application is completed, where a company goes through and identifies areas of security risk and how they're mitigated, talking about the framework is called a minimum security criteria, and documentation of those processes. You work through that with customs. You're assigned a supply chain security specialist who's kind of like your customs mentor, if you will, in the program. Any shortfalls are identified, shored up, and upon completion, you're welcomed into the program and can begin to receive some of the benefits as you continue to participate and make your way up the ranks through CTPAT. You can enjoy full benefits.
Great. Well, it certainly sounds like a true partnership and collaboration between CBP and CTPAT program participants. And CTPAT was launched in 2001 in the wake of the September 11th attacks on the U.S., again, with a focus of securing the international supply chain, the U.S. inbound supply chain. And it's gone through iterations since its inception. So, Eric, can you give us just a quick snapshot of the current state of the CTPAT program and how it's evolved from its predecessor versions?
Gladly. So as we all know, business has changed tremendously in the last 21 years and how we do business. The advent of more electronic communication methods and transactions. So just like business has been dynamic over the last 20 years, CTPAT has had to adapt as well. Initially, when it was launched back in 2001, CTPAT had identified 10 areas of primary concern, those minimum security criteria that I'd previously mentioned. CTPAT, the oversight team recently reviewed those, again, through partnership with the private sector to say, are our original values still in play? Do we need to tweak them a little bit to match today's environment? That led to not only changes within the original 10, but also an expansion to include 2 more, agriculture, which you've already mentioned, as well as cybersecurity, which we all know poses such a significant threat to business today.
Right. And Eric, with that, as the program's developed, and earlier you mentioned the benefits that participants can enjoy and begin having access to upon acceptance into the program. Could you summarize those benefits and give us some examples of how importers and how companies that are involved with CTPAT are leveraging the program to their business advantage?
Yes, well, as we all know, time is money. Particularly when it comes to the international supply chain. Part of the supply chain is taking on that risk of how long will it take for your goods to arrive. Part of that risk is that how long will it take to cross through the border? As we know, inspections are not as common as perhaps they once were. However, they do still happen. And so with this partnership program, where you pull back the curtain a little bit and work in conjunction with customs to provide meaningful security and risk mitigation, customs does provide those benefits that include a lower risk score so that you have fewer exams on average than importers who are not in the program, for example. And in the event that you do have an exam, well, you also enjoy front of the line privileges. You have that supply chain security specialist, which I'd mentioned. You can pick up the phone, call your security specialist, let them know that you have a container that's on exam, then that you need to get that moving. That's a specialist would then call down to that port of entry and say, we have a CTPAT partner container that's been flagged for exam. You guys do what you need to do, but let's do it quickly so we can keep that container rolling. In addition, CTPAT recently expanded to trade compliance as well. And if you have the security component as well as the trade component, then you may be eligible to join the AEO network internationally, which can then provide significant benefits, again, as an exporter as well on the international stage.
Well, now that's great information, Eric, and real ground level example of value that companies are deriving, and also proof that the program is expanding and continuing to evolve to the benefit of all participants. Eric, can you just spend some time talking about CH Powell Company's current engagement with CTPAT, and also how we're engaging clients who are themselves participants in CTPAT today, or perhaps are curious and wanting to join in the future?
Sure. So CTPAT is a dynamic program. It's not submit your application and show that you meet the requirements and then you're done. We continue to meet and review our security practices to make sure that remain in compliance with what we've said we've committed to with customs. We have a security committee that meets regularly to discuss threats from all sorts of sources, whether geopolitical threats to domestic threats, to make sure that we are keeping abreast and we just have an awareness throughout our company culture. Part of that is training. We recently completed our company training, which was well attended and well received by everybody. We continue to work with our clients, whether it's trying to expedite those containers on exam, as I just mentioned, as well as participating with their training. I've been asked to help with a Tier 3 importer with regards to their recent validation when customs is reviewing in depth your program to make sure that you have the documents to support what you've said you've done, as well as participating in their training as well. So we're hands-on when it comes to CTPAT, happy to assist with those who have already been and are experienced with CTPAT. We've also, throughout my tenure here as a regulatory compliance manager, taken several importers and built their programs from the ground up. We're able to provide that guidance, templates if needed for them to implement, and most specifically document processes that they already have in place. So CTPAT is an active program here at CH Powell and continues to be so.
Wonderful. Well, Eric, thanks so much for sharing your expertise and insights today. regarding the CTPAT program. And for those who are viewing this video who would like to learn more about CTPAT and the work that CH Powell Company is doing in this space, please visit our website at www.chpowell.com and click on the Let's Talk button to start a conversation with us. Eric, thanks again for joining us here today, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good day.